Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Shared Housing Alliance. Today, we're going to talk about nonprofits for real estate investors. I have co host Julie on. Julie, how are you?
I'm very good. Welcome, everyone.
So, you and I wanted to spend some time speaking to the real estate investor community on this short 10 or 15 minutes about the benefits of nonprofits and then also how the government can make things difficult for real estate investors to help them with providing real estate, but they don't necessarily know that they're making it difficult because there's a lot of people writing the grants, and then there's a person who's responsible for collecting the documentation. And so they may not know that grant writer and the grant analyst might not realize that there's a disconnect for some real estate investors. And before we get into the grant part of this, let's talk about nonprofits for real estate investors. So, Julie, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think what a lot of people don't realize as investors and real estate investors is that there's a lot of benefits having a nonprofit and an LLC that kind of coexist. And I think that when you do have a nonprofit, that you have that operating, you have an opportunity to get a lot of things comped or for free services I'm talking about that would help you run your business, where as an LLC, I'm paying hundreds of dollars for subscriptions, for items that help me run my business, that all could be filtered through the nonprofit for free. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes. So I have two nonprofits, one for teaching financial literacy, which is the Normalized Money Project. And then, of course, Katie's House Foundation, which is a housing nonprofit. And so, as a nonprofit, you have a mission, and it doesn't mean that you go unpaid. It's just you pay yourself in the form of a W 2 salary, or your nonprofit is, running a mission essentially, and it's something that is left in legacy. So, some people don't know, but when you pass away and you leave your shares to someone else or your real estate to someone else, there may be some complications around that. Now, when you have a nonprofit, it actually goes directly to your next of kin, and then it'll just flow through your family essentially, unless they decline to run your nonprofit. And so it can live on in perpetuity, is my understanding. And what we're looking at here on the screen is the shared housing business course for real estate investors. You might already be a real estate investor who's taking our class, which is this one that we're looking at. It's a 12-hour class. It runs about $1,500 or $2,000. We do, at the $2,000 price point, offer a $500 coupon. And so you'll need to get with one of our affiliates if you need a coupon code. But what's really important about this class, if you're an investor and you are not currently taking the class, is that if you're in the shared housing space, so you are house hacking and you're converting your rooms or your house into 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 bedrooms and having single occupancy rooms, or even double occupancy rooms because you're working with the drug court or foster care or something else, that's great. We love that. And we wanted to talk about, do you have a nonprofit, or are you comfortable with that many people in your house? Because even if you have someone managing it for you, or you want to get into, managing your own type of operation and not paying fees externally, you really need to know a lot of things, right, Julie? Julie, being a police officer, you sit on our committee because you're also a liaison for. Why don't you share with everyone kind of what you do and why you think this class is important?
Well, I've been in law enforcement for 27 years, and I currently am on the Cook County, Illinois District 3 Drug, Alcohol, and Veterans Court. And I basically sit in and, I'm the contact between the program and these people graduating from these programs, and in between there's a lot of assistance that is provided to them to get clean off of drugs, to re relive, in a better light, some of the mistakes that they made. So I think that when it comes to having, this class, and having my background as having a real estate investor and having rentals and having tenants, that I always want to know, kind of what problems might come up. And I think that, being as part of the foundation and being part of some of this teaching that you've been doing, I think letting people know that, this class is meant for people that want to get into this. Not only can you make a lot more money from it, but you also have other things that come up, and some of the real estate groups might not be able to touch on some of these things. And obviously, we first started this talk about the nonprofit and how it can really help your business. So this class not only touches on how nonprofits connected to your LLCs can really coexist well, but it also talks about what some of the pitfalls might be and some of the solutions to problems that will come up. And I think just knowing that I have somewhere that I've learned about this, and I can, kind of put these things into practice to reduce the amount of problems I have, or to circumvent them completely, I think is worth its weight in gold. So, to be able to have this class and to actually listen through it, see that, you provide some information, some spreadsheets, some referrals, some information, insurance, things like that, that you can go out there and ask on a Facebook group and you could get a million answers to them, but you don't know that they're tested and you don't know that they're true. Where I think in this sense, this is coming from Katie's House Foundation, a nonprofit, and that it's providing all this information that has been used through our foundation or through other people's foundations or nonprofits. And that's where I think, we talk about nonprofits and we talk about our real estate investments and how to make more money. This is definitely something that I think everybody, can get into, to not only help themselves make money, but to help the communities that they live in.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for sitting on our committee. We are really thankful and grateful that you do that, because you bring a lot to the table and you help me teach this entire module day 2. And for anyone who's listening right now, we just want to offer this to save you time and to set your expectations correctly, because real estate comes easy to us as real estate investors. We know normally how to get a hold of houses and creative financing. And then once people start moving in, even if you have someone else manage the house, a property manager, for example, or collect payments for you and do those background checks for you, that is great. We want that to work out to your benefit. And we are also partnered up with, from a nonprofit perspective, there are things like Tech Soup, where you can get your Office 365 entirely free instead of paying several $100s per year. You can get social services insurance. And so that is down here. This is class number 10, where we talk about that. And so there are a couple different social services insurance brokers and carriers in the United States. And what's really important about getting that coverage in addition to your landlord coverage is that if you are a licensed and insured nonprofit for the purpose of, let's call it, halfway housing on your insurance, and also your mission is to provide what might otherwise be called short-term rental or a midterm rental, how long do you let those people stay, or does your management company let those people stay? So it's good that they're bringing people into your house. That's great that they're providing the marketing for that they're collecting payments, and that they might even be having a property manager and maintenance under their wing. But if things are not going well for you in your shared housing, are you able to exit those individuals? Because let me just tell you, people who pay for a single room, whether it's them and maybe their spouse, or, you know, whatever the case may be, if they're having to pay a couple $100 per week, and I think that there are different demographics where you might be able to say, well, that person, they have a vice, and that they're working, and maybe they're trying to either get their life started or they're in recovery. If it is truly just that they want to stay and live with 8 other people in a house because that is cost effective for them, that's great. I think it is. I also think that you need to be cognizant of the fact that 8 people who live in a house, whether they're single rooms or they're double occupancy, generally are probably trying to get back on their feet or move up in their financial status. And so if they have something go sideways where they lose their job, then how do you get them out of the house, or how do you prevent them from using drugs and alcohol and negatively impacting their roommates? And with a nonprofit and a nonprofit insurance, social services insurance, that's an additional layer which would be very helpful to you. And so by taking our class, you would learn about that. Of course, you have things that might come up, like the potential for a molestation claim inside of that property. And so that would be something that's covered with social services insurance. And then getting into more nonprofit grants, I touched on Office 365, but there are other grants through TechSoup. There's a slew of them in addition to government grants, and working through that money where you could get $100,000 to buy a house, or even $25,000 to set up a house because you have a nonprofit. And then, of course, getting a house manager and residents, you can do those privately, but I do think there are some great platforms that help you get residents as well. So we just wanted to let everyone know that if you're not already taking our shared housing business course for real estate investors, we'd like to invite you to housesforchange.com, and you can sign up for that. And even if you don't take the class right away, as far as every single hour, because it is 12 hours, you can pick out the classes that you want. And then the documents, of course, come with those classes. Those are proprietary to the Normalized Money Project nonprofit, which teaches about, shared housing and things like that. But of course, being that I also have Katie's house, it's been good to be able to see both. So Julie, anything else from you?
And anybody that's out there that's listening, and you had mentioned earlier about the code. I'll invite them to email placeme@katieshousefoundation.org and ask for the code, and we will respond back. And that, yeah, this is very important for people to not only extend their education when it comes to their financial money and their investments, but for also to be able to, like I said, circumvent some real big problems down the line.
Right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you find value in this content, please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you all next week.